Okay. Go back to our Friday Zoom session. Last Friday we had some technical difficulties, so we kind of had to cancel, but we're back. We do have a couple things. May 6th, Friday, Zoom online. Mary Heine Sensei is going to drop by. Okay, so this is mainly for people who are watching the broadcast on YouTube, but you can catch it live. Okay, so what I said is those of you that work, just take a bag lunch, and it should be fun. And the following week, May the 13th, okay, it's Friday the 13th, but that's not going to deter us. And Live the Holiday Sensei is going to drop by for a session, and so we'll move from there. I'll see about maybe getting a couple other people involved. Okay. Now what I'm doing right here is I used to call this more improv, okay? But I kind of call it more the talking music type of thing. Okay, so I thought what we do is go over movements 21 through 30 of the 30 movements, at least to start the class. Because for me, that's kind of the beginnings of, that it gives you some of the tools, not all of them, for that, what I call Takebusu level. Okay, Takebusu, Aiki, Take, martial, old reading of Bu. Musu is the same character as Umu, to give birth. So martial, the Aiki that gives birth to. Martial, okay? And what else Sensei kind of meant by Bu was kind of, it's very advanced. It's a word, we can define it. Okay. Now, really, what for me this is like, okay, is mind leads body. There's something called spirit means mind. In other words, right about it. And then what happens is the mind goes into that. Then it comes through the body. And then, what we tend to do is we tend to learn it in the forward. Okay, there's like training wheels on a bike. Okay, but oftentimes we trade them in for more advanced training wheels and more advanced training wheels. You never get past the training wheels into what? Spirit leads. Spirit leads. Moving spirit goes through the mind, which goes through the body. And what we really want is the type of transparency or movement of spirit that goes through the mind, fills out through the body, so we have movement. Okay? So that's actually harder than you think. It's very simple on some level. You trust the movement of spirit, and spirit moves. The mind is transparent enough that movement, some understanding here, but it flows through the body. Okay. So the 30 movements 21 through 30. are designed to give you some tools so you can start to do the Takemusu level. Okay, so I thought what we do today is simply just go through those movements, at least to start. It may go somewhere else. So, we'll be starting with movement number 20. Okay, we're in the second change position. 21, it's a step forward. Boom. This is a sweeping motion. This is really designed more for spear, because spear can pierce, but also it can cut. Boom. So on this end, somebody is coming in, boom, and before they really get into that down, they're intercepting at the top. So movement number 20, 21, second change position, 22 is the fifth change. First change, thumbs face away. Second change, thumbs face each other. Third change, thumbs face you. Fourth change is really the first change position, but it's a hidden movement, more through the body. Deep, deep, deep weight under. Not drop the weight, force it out. Fifth change, the hand blade goes here. The second you grip, it becomes a version of the first change, but this is the fifth change. Okay, now, one thing about this is I have to play two roles at once. Okay. The attacker is coming in with a stabbing motion. Okay, there's a lot of fancy stuff with the knife, but the most, basically what? That's hard. That can kill you. They can dance around and slash, but that kill you. And conversely, this to do the same thing, the stab, or the thrust, or the knife in this position, or this position. Okay? So, this is the stab position. Now, in Aikido, a lot of times what we do with that stab position is we go into Ikkyo this way, or actually, but in that particular position, this would be Nikkyo, okay, in the body arts, but somebody puts the blade right on your wrist. So if we go this way, this is kind of thumb towards me, that happens. Okay. So what we do is we don't block, but we redirect, we take here, and then we turn the blade away and then move in, or then move in and turn. So that's the blade, not piece block grab, but redirect the energy. We turn the blade away. So here, we do the same thing.
Sensei?
Yes.
The keys at your waist are jangling very loudly on the video. When you move those, yeah.
They're starting to bother you.
Well, the microphone is picking it up very loudly. It doesn't pick up all frequencies at the same volume, and the high frequencies it picks up very loudly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sensei.
So we'll put that down. Now the question is, can you focus on that material with all the noise? The noise makes it harder. We grab this way. So again, you grab it, so right here. Now, that's here, so we go this way, we take it, turn the blade away as opposed to take it, and the blade continues towards us. That's the fifth change. Okay, so 20, 21, thumbs face, that's the second position. Now this goes to the fifth. Okay. Not a block and a grab, but literally that's coming at you and you're deflecting it to take it. It's an I keep action. Not going to help you, for example, to block and take and then back. So if this is coming at you, then you're redirecting and taking. 22. 23. Go back to the first position. Goes right, left, and here, up. This is the most complex move in the 30 movements. Oh. You're in a car, it's raining, windshield wipers, but the rain stops, you open your sunroof. Boom. Right first, right hand, right side, left side. Up, cover. Okay. Now you can do that move. For example, this is the first change position. Experimenting on your own. Thumbs face, this is second position. Boom, boom, boom. Thumbs face you. This is the third position. Boom, boom. Okay, fourth, not so good for this. Although you could add the fourth against a hidden change. That relax, weight, deepening through the body. Okay, and then fifth change. Right, left. Boom. Now, notice how the hips are rotating. The hips counter rotate and the counter rotate. Boom. Not just the arms. Hip rotates, hip rotates, hip rotates back. Well, this is crucial change for the tucking musu stuff. And basically what it is a figure eight, but it's with two hands on the figure eight. So the hip rotates and it rotates back. So we have movement 20, 21, 22, 23. 24, slide your left hand up, right hand back, and take a step back with your right foot. This is a ready position, okay? That's movement number 5, okay? Okay, now from here, we go into the first of what I call the fire water changes. Thumb down. Right hand on top, thumb down. Left foot steps back. And we're going into the number 5 position, but on the right side. Okay? So I just thought what we do, because as soon as they stay, I can make this available for them, is this is what we're going to do for the third midterm, okay? So, starting from movement number 20, 21, 22, 23. Now we're doing this from the first change position, but you can do that movement from the second change or the third change. Now, see, I'm already rotating, see, I'm not moving this, I'm rotating the hip. Right hand slides up, left hand slides back. We take a step back with the right foot. Now, tip the end, the long end down. Right hand from the top, thumb down. Take a step back. I'm going to hold with the right, catch with the left. 25. Okay. 22. 23. Notice how it's easy to just spin it, just if the hips are rotated. And change, step back. 24. 25, grip with the right hand, release, catch with the left, step back, left foot. Okay. 26, I'm turning, not a step, but right hand up, left hand back, we turn, cover. So frontally it looks this way. Okay. 23, 24. From the top, right hand, thumb down, grip, catch with the left, step back, 25. 26, right hand up, left down, cover. Oops. Now 27, movement 25, fire water change. Okay. Right hand come down from the top, grip. Left hand catches. Okay. Here, it's the same thing except long end. I always grip the long end for me, no matter how short or how long, represents where the spirit tip would be. So I release the right hand, let it spin in the grip of the left hand. Take it with the right, thumb is away. See right here, wall block. Thumb is down from the top. Helicopter, thumb face away. I'm going to take with the right hand, catch with the left. Now the next one, it's a full sweep. You see it's behind me, goes all the way behind me. Then I go step, turn, pivot. That's 28. Okay. Now, earlier we did step, turn, pivot. I think that's movement 16. This is pretty much the same, except instead of just, see, it's a full sweep. Step. Okay. Let's just say a bunch of people are rushing at you. You have something sharp and pointed here, and you create space. Okay, that's movement number 28. So we go, movement number 20, 21, 22. 23 starts with the grip, right, left, cover. 24, slide up, left hand, turn, slide back, catch right hand, step back right foot. 25, fire water change. Thumb down from the top. Step back with the left, catch with the left hand. 26, slide up, left hand slide down, right hand, turn and cover. 27, long end, release, let it rotate this in front, right hand, thumb face away. Catch, find it with the left hand. Now, sweep all the way around, step, turn, pivot, S movement, 28. Okay? So this is, if you kind of go through first Dan, second Dan, third, it's quite a bit more complex, okay? So let's go through that again. And we'll add the last couple of moves. 20. 1, 22. 23, starts with the grip. 24, slide left hand up, rotate and catch, step back with the right foot. 25, fire water change. Let go, right hand. The long end faces the ground. I'm going to take from the top, thumb down, right hand. Lift it, catch with the left, step back, left. Okay. 26. Raise, exchange hands, left is up, right is down, turn and cover, no step. 27. Long end, that goes all the way there, right hand. Catches, left hand catches, and here, this swings all the way around. Step, turn, strike, okay. 28, now 29, rotate the hip. Why? Because what we're going to do is this, and if this chart, I'm rotating the hip, left hand goes up, thumb towards your right hand. Now this is the third change, right thumb faces here. I'm going to rotate. Make sure this is sharp. I don't want to step back. So I'm going to put this over here. Then I'm going to step back. Boom. And this is the second change position. Okay. This can just be creating space or conversely somebody coming in from the back. Okay. So let's go through that sequence again. 21, 22, 23 starts with a grip. 24, right, left hand slides up, right hand back, step back. 25, long end, down. Right hand thumb down from the top. And as part of that, we step back and catch with the left hand. 26. Left hand up, right hand down, turn and cover. 27, long end, let it rotate all the way, so it's facing away. Right hand grips, thumb face away. Grip, left hand catches. Now, all the way around. And it's 28, 29. And step back, that's through. So what I'd like you to do, go through that a couple times on your own, just the last couple, okay? Okay. And anybody with a question or comment on that? So we're going into some detail. The last 10 movements, 21 through 30. Anybody on that one? Cliff, anything you want to add or not?
Can you show the hand changes on movements 29 and 30 again, the 3 hand changes?
Okay. Yeah, well, okay.
That's the only question I have. Other than that, it all makes sense. I liked seeing the Marshall applications. It hadn't occurred to me that the free hand in movement 30 might be a block, so that was pretty cool.
Movement 30 is movement 30. There's one thing you find, for example, in Tai Chi. There's an obvious form, maybe even an obvious application. There's an almost infinite number of hidden movements. And Aikido is kind of lost that bit because each of those movements, you know, I'm talking even Ikkyo or something that we practice all the time, is all about hidden movements. Okay? There's the obvious, and then there is the not so obvious. And you square away through the obvious. As you get deeper and wider and more interior, the not so obvious starts to kind of fill in. Okay? The obvious is kind of like the center. The not so obvious, the energies of a circle. Okay? So, so your questions were primarily about the last couple of movements. Is that what they were?
Just for purposes of refinement, I want to make sure I'm doing, there's 3 hand movements in movements 21, 8 and 29, or 29 and 30.
29.
And I just want to, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm doing the triple hand movement absolutely correctly.
Well, okay, so what I'm going to do, because I intentionally was just experimenting with space. So, you know, for example, I got more space. This is good. You've got less space. I use something shorter. Okay. So let's just go through. So you can move more freely. I don't have to hit that piece of calligraphy behind me with a shorter movement. 27. Now you grip it. Oh. It goes around again. Now 28. See, I can go this way, but what I'm going to do is rotate the hip. Create a kind of more of a diagonal with it. Release left hand, thumb space, that's second change. And right here, don't want to do that, so make sure it's going back. Right hand grips. Left hand from the top, thumb space, and a step back, that's 30. Okay. One of the things, for example, when you're just switch instruments a bit. You're gonna cut your thumb off. Thumb is up, but your position here is sideward. You rotate the hip and click. You feel that, then you take the, that's it. Rotate the hip, find the case, grip the case, not the sharp blade. Turn your hip back. See, drawing the sword is long enough, I can't do that, so I gotta rotate the hip. Okay? And likewise, putting it back. See how the hip rotates. One thing that happened is Ikizuchi Sensei, when we first got there, he gave Linda Sensei and myself an EI lesson, drawing. Of course, we did it with Boken, okay? And then later, what happened when I went back, he kind of taught me and this other guy, not just the frontal one, but there's side, side, back. So that same kata is done to 4. The hard one is turning to the back. And then what happened was interesting is a friend of mine, he gave me a set of swords. And there was something about the way that Ikizuchi Sensei taught it. Even though it was a boken, you basically, your attention was like that. Because he was using a real sword. And it was fine. And then one day I took the sword, I went like this and dropped it onto the mat. This was in Japantown. And it cut the mat surface. I was like, this is sharp. I had not realized that it was sharp. Okay. In other words, the click. Now, for example, with it's a spear, so it's not a sword, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So. Okay, so that changed by itself. It rotates, left hand catches, thumb space away, thumb space, step back. Okay? Does that help at all?
Yes, Sensei, that's exactly what I needed. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the 29, 30. You want to do the whole thing. Put your instrument down. And see if you can do it empty-handed. Anyway, any questions on that clip? Do it without holding the staff or the spear.
No questions. It's just, it is harder to do it without the spear.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, close your eyes. Try to do that.
It's about the same, eyes closed.
Okay. Now, close your eyes without moving. Visualize, not just think, visualize, but feel, visualize without moving, eyes closed, the whole thing.
Okay, that was weird. It got hard when I got to the point where I turn around
Yeah.
in the form, but not when I'm not turning around in real life.
Well, one of the things there, if you can do that, we can all do it to varying degrees. But the way that Robert Koga explained it to me, he said it's a training method for him. And he said, when you can do a movement with your eyes closed and just visualize it without moving, he says you're programming it into your subconscious mind. Conscious mind out there trying to figure it out, do it out there. But when you close your eyes and can visualize without moving every move, you're becoming a little bit like Stephen Hawking, who after, he felt the ability to make calculations in his head because he couldn't use devices or anything. He got more brilliant. There's spaces available to us who go, oh, no, I can't do that, until we have to. And hopefully none of us has to do what Stephen Hawking did, but there's an area where it's almost like, Ueshiba Osensei, he had this stuff where he kind of knew what was going to happen before it did. And I couldn't prove this, but I think a lot of what he got that from, at least partially, was his ability to close his eyes and visualize field movement with his eyes closed. Because he was getting a stream of information. Now we get information, we see it, we think about it, we do it. But when we can do that exercise to some degree, we start to, open way past our norm. So I can't prove it. But on the other hand, it's just my suspicion. But that's a good way of doing it. I know that, there was a trumpet player. I used to go, when things were open, I used to go listen to him. We'd take a dojo group, and he had a really good little ensemble there. And one time he came to see, he just was not with his regular group. He just said, I'm going to be in San Jose. And since I used to bring a dojo group, and he said, these are my most dedicated fans. He would play in San Francisco, and we'd go we go train in San Francisco, and then we'd go to listen to him play, And so, you know, he comes, I think, to the Dianza Hotel. And, yeah, this last minute notice. So I contacted Harry Sensei and we went. And it was kind of cool because, you know, he didn't know anybody there. So during the intermission, he gets a beer and he comes over, we talk a little bit. And what he said was interesting. He says, you know, what's really hard is all of a sudden somebody calls you for a gig. And they, you know, they basically somewhat get you the music, but you haven't had a chance to rehearse with them at all. And maybe you don't know that song or these songs. So you have to look at it and in your feel input, you're playing even though you're not. Because you can go this way, then all of a sudden, you know, you're in the ensemble and, you know, there's a bass player, a piano player, a saxophone player, and, you know, and so, you know, you close your eyes. Here, that's more of a hearing thing, but there's coordination with your hands and your embouchure and your breath to that. So I thought that was interesting. You said, yeah. So I got to be able to do that. I said, right. And Chet Baker, for example, you know, he said that if you heard a song once, he could play it. If you heard it twice, he could improvise to it. And so, you know, there's an area where most people can't do that. Okay. Pick up a wider field of information. Visualize, feel, visualize, feel, visualize, feel. And you know, I think we start to step out a bit, you know, into territories of ourselves that we don't normally stretch ourselves to achieve. Just my thought. And anyway, what I thought we'd do is maybe just go through the thing a couple more times, okay? And then start to see if we can start to open up into more improv, okay? So I'm using a shorter staff. I can even take a shorter staff. Now with the shorter staff, I have a conscious long end and short end. The long end is the spear tip. Other than that, if I hold in the middle, I can't keep track of where the point is. But even shorter one. Okay. So, and especially in here, I don't want to smash that or hit the calligraphy. I'm just experimenting today with doing this in less space because we have the lens, okay, which allows me to get somewhat of a full body, just in shorter distance from the actual camera. So from here, okay, I go here, here, boom, step back, change from the top, step back, turn. Now, keep holding with the left, grip with the right, catch with the left. Now, notice here, starts in the back, it goes all the way around to sweeping motion. Step, turn, strike, and then closing motion. Right. Now, there's a certain amount of that where you, what do? You kind of, know what, with the details, but there's a state here where you kind of want to boom, 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 boom. Okay. In other words, you do the whole thing, like it's one move. And it may take you a little bit to do it. Boom. Whoa. 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 Okay. And you may not be able to do it that way, at least initially. But the whole thing was just okay. So give that a try. That last sequence has one move. You may be able to do that, you may not. Okay. Any comments or on that particular? It's not what I'm talking about in terms of the Takumi, but it's something that you begin to practice. Okay. And when you can do the whole thing, in essence, as one movement, that's pretty good. Cliff, anything on that one at all, or?
Just that I'm getting closer to doing it all as one movement.
Yeah,
There
okay.
were some stops and starts, but I did 3 sets just as one, tried to do one motion of 3 sets, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Starting
Yes.
with 20 and ending with 30, since they're the same.
Okay. Now, for example, let's start out with movement number 22, 23. (22), 23. Okay, now let's go right thumb towards you. Movement number 23, but with a second change. Now let's go left hand thumb towards you. So this is the third change, and this is all boom. Okay, so try that a little bit. That's, you know, it's still taking structure. But it's giving you another tool. That movement 23 translates into body movement as kodigaishi or irimi nage in certain cases. Okay. And getting out of the outer pattern to kind of feeling it flowing from your core, from your hips, all the way down, feet kind of moving that way. That becomes an important thing.
I'm finding with that movement, the most awkward for me is the Nikyo one, because my shoulder keeps going up.
Yeah, well, the Ikkyo one is interesting. The Ikkyo The boom, 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 boom. The other ones, boom, 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 boom. What you'll find is when you start to improvise, the other ones actually you use more than you do the EQ. See, basically, for me, GoQ exists mainly to get in there. But then, see, all of a sudden, you go into the fire water changes, and what I'm doing is that same movement. With the second change. Now I do fire water change, and all of a sudden, I'm doing that same movement from the third change. Right, back to the first, boom, now, what was that? That was movement 29 through 30. Boom, now from here, all of a sudden, we go into the same change, body, boom, 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 boom. Oh, one-handed figure eight, two-handed figure eight, boom, boom, boom. A little more advanced. I kind of fool around with this stuff. It's not necessarily a Budo move, but it's like a behind the back crossover in basketball, between the legs. Boom, boom. Not so much martial function, but you know, ability to boom, make that change. So again, it loosens up a bit. So. See, for this stuff, if I use a longer staff here, I'd probably smash a bunch of stuff that I wish I had hit. So all I'm doing is just basically improvising a bit off of those basic changes. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is just give it a try. Okay, Cliff, anything with that?
Yeah, I found when I was improvising, I found random bits of the first 20 movements would appear and then go away again. So like I would be doing, I don't know, just a thrust, and then I would find that I'm doing the turning around like movement 11 or 12, and then I would go and do something else random, and then, you know, another movement would appear.
Well, you go back into conscious thought. Okay, you do.
It was more like my body was just like going into familiar patterns, and then it would start improvising again.
Well, you know, what was, I think it was Wednesday, we were kind of going through, let's just say that space-time. We're going through relativity theory in my Christian mind, okay? Space-time, original mind. There's a lot of information stored there, but we start to tap it with a certain sense that we're actually emptying from our busy mind. Okay? And most of the time, what happens is matter energy can bend or warp space-time and create things like gravity. But let's just say that it can work the other way. And I've been told that matter and energy moving bends space-time. But space-time bending and moving moves matter and energy. And I think if we were to look at a lot of what O-sensei did, I mean, you know, body is matter, energy. Space-time is like where we are, you know, just kind of like a grid, okay? With all information, the code of the universe, but we understand it to a certain sort of emptiness. And the universe is potentially, but oftentimes empirically it appears not to be, is conscious. So let's just say there's movement in something called spirit. The movement of spirit creates curvature, movement in space-time. Therefore, matter and energy move. I would say that's probably something that O-sensei could do. Now, most of us are stuck in a very limited model of space-time. And so we're trying within that limited model to move matter and energy better. But the inverse is also probably true. Again, Einstein's basic field equation for relativity. This side, geometry. Need that to measure space-time. This side, physics, matter and energy, equal sign. Now, so you have geometry, you have physics. But O-sensei insisted what he was doing was not what he called religion at all, although he talked in terms of religious things, right, or spiritual matters. Consciousness, spirit, through spirit, space-time moves, curves, bends. Therefore, matter and energy move to the curvature, the bending of space-time. And for O-sensei, it was so clear here that this, that, or no time, no space. So right about here, for example, that's my modest attempt to do it. All of a sudden, quite clear, something called spirit moves, and this sort of thing sort of happens. Not on O-sensei's level by any stretch of the imagination, but see, what's hard for me is going 1 through 30. That's really hard. I go, okay. Because there's motion. The way that O-sensei put it, the universe turns and turns. As we get a little bit more, the system works off of a transparency. I am in matter, energy, in a limited sense of myself in space-time. Okay? I increase my sense of self. I become more conscious. I develop a better sense of the matter and energy moving in space-time. As I get, and this is again, he called this misogi. I get a better sense of myself. Geometry, physics, space-time, matter, energy, they start to coordinate a bit. A harmony, mind, body. I get to a certain level where I don't say I anymore. I call that spirit or soul or true self or something. And what happens there translates into the space-time, which moves the matter and energy. That would be my modest sense of the beginnings of a unified field theory. Big word. Einstein never made it. I think Osensei kind of solved it. He didn't solve it, in terms of mathematics or physics. He solved it in terms of martial movement and consciousness. Okay. Cliff, any thoughts on that crazy thought?
It's fascinating, the idea of space-time moving matter and energy rather than matter and energy affecting space-time. And I've been thinking about that since Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it gets to like the heart of causality and whether there is causality. What is causality?
Everything's causality, except where we are with such a limited sense of who we are. You have the matter, energy, and space-time, and we appear kind of frustrated and powerless. And so causality, as you start to, Nado Sensei, 10-pounder, 20-pounder, 30-pounder, 40-pounder. He doesn't go much past that, but you can go, when you're a 100-pounder, you're kind of beginning to, you start to touch some causality. Okay. There's a story where Osensei's, I think in Osaka or somewhere, and one of the people with him is a man named Abe, who was his student, but also his calligraphy teacher. And so they're in a taxi and they're crossing the railroad tracks. And what happens there? The taxi stalls, won't move. And there's a train coming. And the official thing is, Abe Sensei, he's going to put his body over O Sensei's, try to shield him from the impact. Everybody figures they're going to die. But Sensei's here forming a mudra. And then the taxi goes off, just starts to move again once he kind of does this. Okay, causality. And what happened is, probably about 8 years ago, Abe Sensei actually came to our dojo in Japantown. He made 2 trips there. The first one, he saw at the time we were building a shrine inside. Okay. And what he did was trying to say something important, and the universe goes, ha ha ha. But he looks at what we're doing. He says, if you will make it the centerpiece of your shrine, I have calligraphy that O Sensei, I'll give it to you. And so we invited him back, and he brought the calligraphy. And so, that's the calligraphy we had up in the medical school currently, because we actually had to close our participation in the medical school due to the pandemic, and things were disappearing. So I took that and asked Linda Holiday, Sensei, will you watch it for us until we get the place on 3rd Street? And so she put it up in the dojo. But Abe Sensei, in the official story, throws his body on top of O Sensei to shield O Sensei from the impact. And O Sensei is already forming, and the car moves off the tracks. Okay, causality. Now, when Abe Sensei came, he brought kind of like a young uke. All right? And so what happened is Mr. Kinoshita, we actually got promoted to 7th in the same year. Okay, really neat guy. Really one of Abe Sensei's dedicated people. Okay, and so before he taught in San Jose, we went out for coffee. And what Mr. Kino Stab did is we started talking about that. He said, let me give you the official version that Abe Sensei told to a very select few. The official version, well, the official one. The taxi starts to move, the train comes, they're safe. But what Abe Sensei said to people, select people, that didn't happen. Of course, the world wants to know exactly what is stupid. That's the nature of it. We have a limited self, trapped in a limited sense of ourselves. So we have a very limited sense of space-time, matter, and energy. Most of the time, the world, universe is very immense. There is no causality. Things happen to us. But the hidden version, the one that Abe Sensei kind of heard, because he was really close. I mean, that Kinoshita Sensei heard, because he was so close to Abe Sensei. The taxi doesn't move after Abe Sensei does this. They're hit head on, or whatever it is, by the train. The taxi is knocked way into the air. It floats down like a feather, lands in a safe place. Everybody's totally healthy and cool. That's causality. So that part of it, I hope is okay, because I mean, there's so much crazy stuff around what Sensei could do. Okay, most people are going, but I thought that was really revealing. See, the problem is we're so in such a limited sense of who we are. We touch a very limited sense of matter and energy. And therefore, the space-time is also very limited. As we start to expand our consciousness, the sense of matter and energy shifts. The level of space-time shifts. At some level, that Sensei hit, there's causality. It happens every once in a while, random chance. Because our consciousness can expand, but it generally kind of comes back to that. So, that's kind of the movements themselves exist before the space-time grid bends, curves, and matter and energy move through it. I can't do it the way Sensei did it. If I was in that taxi cab, I'm toast. Okay? So a couple of things to kind of just be with. Cliff, anything before we go?
Not that I can think of. Thank you, Sensei.
Okay, yeah. Let's see, a couple of things. We will be Easter Sunday. We have class, Aikido Mountain View. And David, I'd like to post this for San Jose State because they've got to go into the last 10 moves. And I think you presented it pretty well. So if you wouldn't mind sometime just posting this so I can put it on YouTube. And we can see, for me, it's like I just fun around, space-time, matter, energy, space-time. And for me, what's hard is translate that 1, 2, 3, 30. That's really hard. Okay. Okay, but anyway, thank you all. Okay, and we will get you all later.
Sensei, you're gonna
Yes.
have to ask David